Good morning. This is that one guy broadcasting from snowy Holland. And last night I did a live stream and I realized a couple of things. Number one, I had no idea how to run a live stream, but I would like to do that again sometime. Number two, this particular series is not conducive to live streaming as I try to cut these down a little bit. And as we get further and further away from the KSC, time warping and other such things are going to require more filler space. So moving on, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you know how to design a spacecraft for once. And I'm going to pop up my Mooner, go by it. So here's what we have, and I'll run you through the details on it. We have a command module that has... I'll run you through those in a minute, I'm sorry. That just looks like a bigger version of that three-man orbiter that we made. I'm trying to remember what we called it. I think Lapis Maris. I'm not sure. But we have this command module up here. It's got some solar panels, some communication stuff. And that's to communicate with this guy down here, the lander. And you'll notice that it is decked out head to toe with batteries. And the reason for that is it has a little OKTO probe core down here so that if I wanted to, I could actually send down a robotic rescue mission with one of these. And this whole thing just docks pretty nicely to this. Then down here, we have the asparagus design of the bigger rockets. Now, with the bigger rockets, you can only fit about 6 stages around here, I guess. 6 asparagi. So, yes, this is the setup that I use to get everything into orbit. And let's run through some action groups a quick sec, because there is one that I need to take care of. Decouple node. So the first action group that I'm tasking to action group 1 is decoupling this node from the rest of the rocket. And I hope that that does what I want it to do. Because if it doesn't, it could actually just screw this whole mission, and I would have to redo this whole thing, and I don't want to do that. Number two things that I'm doing, I have the antennae toggling along with the solar panels. The number 3 thing, I've got scientific equipment on this just everywhere, because this thing actually can make it out to Duna and land on Duna, but I've got scientific equipment to measure conditions and such on the surface. And then do I have custom 4? I do not. Okay, let's take this out to the launch pad. Alright, here we are at the launch pad. So I'm going to go through the pre-flight, and as big rockets go, I'm only going to do a 50% throttle. 3, 2, 1, fire. Now, I'm going to go ahead and time warp this, and when we get to the suborbital trajectory right before orbit, I will teach you how to get into a proper orbit so that you can do an Apollo-esque Mooner mission. And we're back. Now you'll notice I'm burning at a 20 degree above the horizon, I guess heading at bearing 090. And the reason that I'm doing this is I'm actually trying to increase, I should probably throttle up quite a bit, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to increase my apoapsis to roughly 105 kilometers. And when that happens, I'm going to go ahead and slow my rocket back down a little bit. Yeah, here we go. There we are. We are slowed down. I'm going to go ahead and rotate myself to face the prograde vector. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn the SAS back on until I reach a near orbital velocity. Alright, there we are. Second, we're going to jettison that stage, turn on the RCS to make sure all of that works. Then, fingers crossed, I'm hitting 1. Oh goodness, that actually worked. Sweet. Alright, I'm turning on the RCS, thrusting forward, opening my docking port shield, and as you'll notice, I've already set the Clampotron on the Monesk as my target. This is probably going to be one of the easier dockings you're ever going to do in KSP. I mean, all you're doing is you're racing against a clock, but you're already on the same line because you came off of the same rocket. So we're going to go ahead. And sorry about that little hiccup there, everybody. Still getting back used to using this software. So we're approaching the lander at 0.1 meter per second, and as you'll see, maybe you can't because of the Bandicam. I'll pull up the map. I'll pull up the map view. Here we go. We're still actually not at our apoapsis yet. Let's stop burning through that fuel. And that is designed into the flight plan so that we're not going to immediately start descending and then we have to make up to get into orbit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rotate and face the prograde. And then we're going to do two things. One, we're turning off RCS. Two, I'm going to right-click on the Clampotron docking port, and I'm going to disable crossfeed. Otherwise, it's going to suck the fuel right out of this, and that's going to cause problems down the road. Next, we're going to activate this engine and kick off that shroud. You'll see that again I am using the Poodle engine, and this is simply because we don't need the ultimate power in the universe to get out to the Mun. Now, this might strike some people as a bit silly, but I actually don't know where the Mun is right now. Oh good, it's coming up on the time that we're going to need to burn. Now, the rule of thumb is when you see the Mun come up, I mean, we can set it as the target, but you can actually do this all by eyeball. When the Mun starts to rise is when you would burn for the Mun. So the next couple of things we're going to do is we're going to roll over, and I'm going to point out some things. I'm sorry. I'm going to roll over and point out some stuff. Number one, I'm hitting 2 to deploy all my comms gear and solar panels on the CM. Then you'll notice that these 4 engines on the lander I've actually got staged above this. That's a very important thing to do, otherwise these will be firing at the same time that this does, and you're actually going to not have very much movement at all while you're wasting quite a bit of fuel. I hate this cold. Alright, so I'm going to time warp up to 10 because the Mun is close. Okay. So once we see the Mun rise, I'm going to point the rocket back towards the prograde. Are you pointing at the sun? Yes, you are. I'm going to point the rocket back towards the prograde, and we're going to go ahead and fire our Poodle engine. There we go. Now I'm going to turn on the RCS. I'm going to point myself down towards the horizon and stop on the prograde vector. Turning off my RCS to conserve it. I'm throttling up to 100%. Now, one thing about this burn that I did end up mentioning in my live stream last night, this apoapsis will not change very quickly at first, but as we continue the burn, it will actually swing out to over here and eventually become very rapid. Once the apoapsis gets out to about halfway to the mun, it's really just going to take off if you don't watch it. So this is a long, very non-exciting burn, so I'm going to speed up the time until... You know what? No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I would, except what the heck is going on here? Should not be doing that. What the hell? The periapsis actually should be moving up towards me. Oh, jeez Louise. Okay. Yeah, we're good. I'm sorry. I was having a derp moment. I thought we were controlling this ship, and I'm thinking, what the heck? Why is the periapsis doing that? Physics is no longer working. Gloom, doom, and vileplume. Alright. But yeah, notice we haven't even gotten to 1,000,000 meters, and we've been burning for, looks like, about 30 seconds. But once we get out to about here, we're going to be clearing about 1,000,000 meters every second. So that's just got to do with physics and stuff that I don't feel like explaining right now. Just know that as you kick out farther from a body's surface, the faster the altitude changes. Because the gravitational influence is indeed weaker farther away, but not so weak that stuff has any major difference. Alright, here we go. We're out to about 3 million meters, and still we are increasing our velocity. There we go, 4 million meters. 5 million. Now the mun is roughly 11 million meters away. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throttle down to about half because I don't want to lose control of this. Because my target is actually right in here, right in front of the mun. So let's go ahead and slow down a little bit more. Stop. Alright, now what I'm shooting for is I'm shooting for a mun periapsis of about 110 kilometers. There we go, works for me. Because when we get in there, I'm going to enter into a 125 by 125 orbit. Now, one thing that I would like to point out is I'm not doing this the way that the Apollo missions did it. I'm doing it slightly differently. I'm actually going to let the moon continue my east-west orbit. When Apollo did it, they got slightly in front of the moon and had it pull them into a west-east orbit so that when they burn to come home, they would burn on the dark side. But we are going to burn on the visible side when we come home. So just it's easier for me to do this where I get pulled in front of the mun and then come back out around. You can do whatever you want, just remember what direction you entered orbit at. So I'm going to go ahead and shut up and speed up my video. Okay, and we're back. Alright, you'll notice that the mun is a lot closer and we are actually approaching it as we speak. So let's see here, what phase of the mun are we entering at? Can't figure it out right now. Let's see what we got here. Looks like we're almost going to be full mun by the time we land. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and warp time until we get close to the periapsis. And the closer you get to the Mun, the less fuel you have to waste to achieve capture. That doesn't mean to achieve your stable orbit, but to achieve capture. So I prefer to do this little system right here, where I get close, I line myself up, and then I begin a burn. Now, as you know, the periapsis is the fastest point of your flight. I believe I covered this in an earlier video. And the apoapsis is your slowest point. Now, when the Mun escape is the same as the periapsis, and slightly beyond, that actually means we will be captured. And the reason for this is, if the periapsis is the fastest point, that means we are going too slow. There we are. We are going too slow to escape lunar velocity. And it's just a pretty cool little point. It doesn't really affect spaceflight because you're still going to burn until you achieve an orbit of what you want. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up a little bit because I don't want to be here all day shrinking this orbit. So I'm going to wait till the apoapsis gets to a little under 125 kilometers. And here we go. Boom. I'm going to turn on the RCS, and I'm going to shift this out to slightly below 125 kilometers, turn off RCS, and I'm going to speed up time. Swing around the Mun until I get to the apoapsis, because it's much, much easier to circularize an orbit, for me at the very least, at the apoapsis. So I'm going to wait till I get very close to that. Point myself heading 090. I hate this cold. And here we go. Okay, that should fix some of my problems. And here we are. We're going to circularize this orbit to 125 by 125. Alright, so that's 125.67 by 124. Okay, that's within about a kilometer, so I'm going to call that good just because I don't need it to necessarily... Let's go ahead and turn that off so we're not burning through that. I don't need it to necessarily be the best forever. So, let's see. Now we have to pick a landing site. I'm going to pick one right here in this flatlands because I don't think there's anything Easter eggy there. And yes, there are Easter eggs on the Mun, and I have visited most of them, except the ones at the extreme poles. So, let's go ahead and start doing some prep work so that we don't have to do that later. Right-click on the monopropellant tank on the lander, and then Alt-right-click on the one on the CM, and transfer out 100 units of monopropellant to the lander. Also, we're going to turn the craft to face due north so we don't have to do that later, and we can avoid a lot of unnecessary complications later. Next, we're going to just be sure that we're there. Then we're going to go ahead and turn off the monopropellant, and then I'm going to just use the internal gyroscopes or whatever we're using, Space Magic. And we're just going to top off the tanks. Excellent. All of these fuel tanks should be full, and they are because I disabled crossfeed. Next, we're going to go down into here and grab up the people that we want to go onto the surface. So I'm going to grab up Mission Commander Jeb. And I will also grab up Bill, so that's where that whole thing was coming from. So we're going to have them EVA. We're going to have them Oh, I guess I did grab Bill. We're gonna Jeb tumbling off into space. We're gonna have them EVA. Oop. And then we're going to have them grab the lander and board. Now I've got 2 Kerbals in the lander and 1 Kerbal in the CM. So now I'm going to go ahead and speed up time until I get to the point here. Actually, I'm just going to get to this point right here because my landing zone is right here. Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit M. I'm going to undock. I'm going to hit bracket to make sure that I'm on this craft. I'm going to slowly move myself away from the command module. I'm going to turn off RCS so that we're not wasting it. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn on SAS and face the retrograde. Here we go. I have to hit space to activate these engines. And we are slowing down. Sweet. Now, the MUN has a very weak gravitational field, so it would take a long time to deorbit on Kerbin from the same altitude, not so much from here. So it looks like our landing site's going to be right around in here, because this always comes back a little bit. Next, we're just going to do a little bit of a sort of daredevil move that I call it, and we're going to wait until we get within 20 kilometers to cancel out a lot of our velocity. This is so that we're not wasting fuel on the way down and we get a little closer to the landing site that I have selected. Excellent, right, so we're going to be landing probably somewhere right in here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and face retrograde and begin burning, because we need to dump a lot of speed really quickly. Here we go. Full throttle. Next I'm going to rotate the craft so that the little point of the artificial horizon is facing down, I guess, so that it looks like this. This ensures that my solar panels on this craft, yes, there are solar panels on this craft, will be facing east-west by the time I am landed. And you'll notice that the retrograde marker is moving. That is for 2 reasons. One, it's a non-elliptical orbit. Number 2, we are actively shrinking. I'm sorry, it's a non-circular orbit. It's elliptical. And number 2, we actually are shrinking the orbit quite a bit right now, which is causing the shift. So you just need to keep pointing at the retrograde marker now. I'm going to go ahead and wait till we get to about 100 meters per second. That's a pretty stable descent. And then I'm going to throttle down a little bit so that we're not actively dumping speed. So yep, here we go, I'm throttling down, still losing speed, which is good. So now I'm going to dump down to the point where I'm not affecting my speed that much. And the next major point where we're going to, and you'll notice that we switched to surface and we're moving slower than we thought we were. And the next major point where I'm going to dump speed, okay, just got to make sure that that's not shifting too much. Next point that we're going to dump speed is at 5,000 meters, and we're going to be dumping speed to about 50 meters per second. Then at 3,000 meters, we're going to dump it to 25. Then we're going to do a little IVA, and we're going to dump the speed all the way down to about 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit G to deploy my lander legs. Awesome. Now we're going to be sure that we're sticking with the retrograde marker. And we are still falling down towards the MUN, which is good, but we're not out of control. And yes, this is a tactic that you will need to, excuse me, that you will need to master to land on almost any other planet, with the exception being Eve. Eve, you probably would just want parachutes for, but Eve, you need to design basically a rocket that can get off of Kerbin to get off of that, and that's just for like one man. Anyways, I have not actually ever designed a perfect Eve lander. They've always had some problems, but I do have a couple of probes that work pretty well in Eve. So we're going to go ahead, and I've been talking and stuff, so we're going to dump a lot of speed. We're going to skip that whole 50 meters per second thing, and I'm just going to drop down to the 25 meters per second thing. Between 20 and 25 works great. So I'm going to go into the cockpit, and when this reaches 1,000, which it just did, we are 1,000 meters from the ground, so I'm going to need to stop at a kilometer. So when I hit 1,200 meters, I'm going to go ahead and throttle up a little bit and dump speed down to about 10 meters per second. And the reason I'd be doing that is because I want to eventually get down to about 6. So here we are, we're coming in kind of quickly. Let's dump down to 10 meters a second. Let's just dump down to about 6. Anyways, the trick to this is you just want to come in nice and easy onto the mun. Just keep pointing at your retrograde and you'll be fine. And when I touch down on the mun, I've got my finger over X and X. There we go. We do a little bounce, but we are none the worse for wear. So let's go ahead and hit 3 to deploy this comms antenna, which will talk to the CM as it orbits. It's not powerful enough, I don't think, to get back to Kerbin. The solar panels are now charging all of our scientific equipment, so we can right-click on that and see what's going on the mun. We have 0.16 Gs. We've got no pressure because we're in a vacuum. We've got liquid fuel, of course we do. Temperature of minus 16.6 and it's dropping. We've got a gravity value of 1.61 meters per second squared. Cool. So now I'm going to right-click on this ladder to extend the ladder. Now, you may be wondering, hey, that one guy, why didn't you cover how to build this rocket? You did in your live stream, if you feel like watching that hour-long atrocity. Let's go ahead and EVA Jeb. And the reason is because I want you to be independent. I don't want you to just copy my rocket designs. I've taught you the basics for a lot of things, and play around with it, see what works, because that's about half the fun of KSP, is designing a rocket for your next big challenge. So now that I've got him out, I'm going to bracket, and then I'm going to EVA Bill, and I'm going to run you through some of the fun stuff you can do on the mun. Okay, we're going to drop Bill off like that. Alright, now, the ladder doesn't reach the ground or come even close, so you'll notice that the Kerbals have an insane amount of ups, actually, on the mun, which they've got about a 3-meter vertical leap. The other thing that you can do on the mun is you can hit R to activate your MMU, and you can actually use it like a little jetpack. It's very easy to kill your Kerbals with that thing, so just short controlled bursts, and it's a great way to get from A to B. So we're going to let these guys grab some surface time. I'll put a little music on, and we'll go ahead and watch that from there. Alright, and we're back. Yep, that was less than 10 seconds, so I didn't really think ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off their little MMU. And here we go, jumping up, grab. Let's go ahead and board. bracket, come over here, jump up, grab, and board. Now I'm going to go ahead and retract the ladder, not that it does anything. I'm going to hit 3 to turn off all of my scientific equipment, and retract my solar panels. So I'm going to go ahead and launch. Here we are. And then, because it's the Mun and there's no atmosphere, I can actually begin an immediate gravity turn to 45 degrees above the horizon at heading 090. I'm going to throttle up to 100% and retract my landing gear. Next, we're going to go out to the map view, and I'm going to make a circular orbit at about 75 kilometers. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk through that, because there's no particular point here that's fast enough for music. That's going to take long enough for music. 60, so let's get up to, come on, 75, here we go, got it. And again, these orbits don't have to be perfectly circular, but the closer they are, the easier it is for rendezvous and docking. So we're going to go ahead and do that. That's going to look pretty cool because we're just zipping up from the Mun. And we're going to come up to here and slow down, time warp, and I'm going to readjust to face the prograde, and we could probably make a fairly circular orbit right now. And the reason for this is because the Mun has a very low gravitational pull, as you've seen with all of our surface experiment equipment. Yay, science! So we're just going to go ahead and make an orbit that is 74 by 78. That's fine with me. Next, I'm going to left click on the Munesque, set it as my target, and then I'm going to start picking out, let's see here. There we are. How close is that? 13.5. That's not close. Are we not out there far enough? Oh, okay, there we go. 5.4 kilometers, but I think we can do better. There we go, 3.7. That's cool, that's nice and close. So let's go ahead and find the node reticle. So I'm going to flip, and I think I've just gone the wrong way, and I did. Here we go, and zipping forward now. Now you'll notice that it only takes about 20 meters per second of delta V, which is the change in velocity, to intersect with this orbit and kick it out 25 kilometers into space. And that again has to do with the Mun's low gravitational pull. So let's go ahead and right click on that, get rid of it, and see, let's fiddle around with RCS a little bit, see if we can't get a little closer. So 3.3 looks like about the limit of what we're doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up time for a little under an orbit. And here we go. We are coming in. Oh wow, that's quite a bit of discrepancy right there. Alright. Next, now that we're in targeting view, I'm going to find my retrograde vector to my target. And once my craft stops flipping out, I'm going to go ahead and speed up, or point it at the retrograde and fire in order to come down to a reasonable amount of differential speed. Then I'm going to hunt around for the... Where the heck is it? Aha, it's up towards the top, got it. I'm going to hunt around for the pro-target vector reticle thing. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and burn towards that. Again, pretty standard rendezvous. So let's see how closely I can get us. 3, 2, 1. Cool. Alright, next we're going to come out to here. and stop with the time warp. I'm going to find the retrograde vector, and then I believe I'm eventually going to have to be pointing south. Cool. Alright, so let's rotate around here, and here we go. Come on now. Now you'll notice that I did not close the docking port, and that's because I knew we were coming back. And I'm talking about the shielded docking port on the CM. I hate this cold. Alright. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit N and fire 2 meters per second in that direction, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that so that I'm just heading due south. That way I'm not going to collide with my craft, and I can worry about targeting later. Or, I mean, correcting for targeting later. Here we go. We are approaching the Monesque craft in reverse. I feel like if there were sounds in space, I would hear a truck backing up noise. So, yes, here we go. We've got 2.5 minutes before my video software hiccups again. And I hope I can get a successful dock in that time. Here we go. The Monesque CM is approaching us. I can right-click on the Clampotron shielded docking port as my target, which makes my life a lot easier. And here we go. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate myself so that I am the correct orientation on the horizon. I'm going to go ahead and burn so that I'm off of that. And here we go. I'm going to approach at 1.5 meters per second. Excellent. And here we go. Playing fast and loose with physics here. Yep, alright. And as you see, the targeting reticle has the natural tendency to go towards the retrograde vector, while the prograde vector scares it away. Alright, so again, we're going to do the whole get 3 things in a line, which I guess that's what that strategy is called. And as long as it's on the normal or anti-normal, or close enough to it, we're not going to experience any end-over-end flipping. So there we go. Get that all lined up. Hit H until we are approaching at 0.5 meters per second. Excellent. So here we go. Hiccup. Awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and just let physics do its thing with minor adjustments to be sure that we're not going to be moving in relation to the target. And here we go. We're approaching the Monesque craft. Once we get within 5 meters, I'm going to go ahead and slow our approach to about 0.2 meters per second. Using N, 0.1 meters, RCS, and SAS off. And we're going to wait for the magnets to do their thing. And here we go. Got it. There we are. We're going to go ahead and EVA Bill. And we're going to bring him back over to the, flipping all over the place. We're going to bring him back to the command module. And come on now. Grab. There we are. And we're going to do the same thing with Jeb. And after that, we are going to go ahead and empty out the lander of anything of critical importance. So here we go. Grab, board. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and empty it from the monopropellant. We're going to put that back into the main monopropellant tank. We're going to go ahead and empty out the engine. I'm sorry, not the engines, the fuel. And the reason we're doing this is we're taking this sucker back to Kerbin and we're going to let it go and burn up in the atmosphere. Now, there's absolutely no reason why we have to do this. I mean, we could, in theory, leave it in orbit, and then we would never have to launch another lander again. But that's not the way I roll here. There we go. Everything is empty. Excellent. So now, we are actually in perfect position in front of the Mun to get out of the Mun's sphere of influence. Now what we're going to do is we're going to roll our craft over to the prograde heading so that we will burn our apoapsis out past the Mun's sphere of influence. So here we go. And begin our burn. Now what this is doing is, if we look at Kerbin, we're burning this way, which we're still in an east to west orbit, which means we are actually slowing down with relation to Kerbin while speeding up with relation to the Mun, which is exactly what you want to do for your lunar escape burn. Remember, if you're east to west, you burn at the front of the moon. If you're west to east around the Mun, you burn on the dark side of the Mun. The dark side. Join us. We have cookies. Alright, that was dumb. I shouldn't say stuff like that again because I don't have cookies. Alright, so we're going to burn down to a periapsis of about 25 kilometers. Okay, we're just going to nice and easy baby it down in there. Boom. And just because I like adjusting things, we're going to use the RCS to adjust that. And now, you'll see we are not only escaping the Mun's orbit, we're going to kick out a little bit, that is unfortunate, but we're not only escaping the Mun's orbit, in 13 hours we're going to be back planet side. So let's go ahead, and I will shut up, and put a little music to this until we get, until we get to about 150 meters. 150 meters, yes, that would be concerning. 150 kilometers from Kerbin. Alright, cool, I'm back, and what I'm going to do is, because this is going to happen very, very quickly, I'm going to face my craft again to the north, and at 150 meters, I'm going to jettison the lander. And the reason I'm jettisoning it to the north is because I really don't want it to come back and hit me. So here we go, in 3, 2, 1... undock R. We're going to thrust away from that with N. Then we're going to line ourselves up with the retrograde, and we're going to close the shielded docking port for re-entry. Now, once we get to about 100 kilometers, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jettison the propulsion and computers and all the other things that have been keeping this MUN mission going. So we're going to have a little hiccup. Awesome. And in 3, 2, 1, jettison. I said jettison. There we are. That's jettisoned. Now it's just going to be a nice, slow... There we go. It's going to be a nice, slow descent back towards the planet. Well, fast descent. We're absolutely screaming in right now from over 31.5 football fields every second. For my non-American viewers, American football, that's 100 yards a second. But it's meters, so I don't know what I'm on about. We're finally in the atmosphere, so I'm going to go ahead and shut up and time compress the video, put a little more music back on until we touch down. And touchdown. This has been That One Guy. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about the what your lander should look like, you can copy my design, I guess, or you could. I would really rather that you start building your own, but that's just me being curmudgeon-y. Just thanks for watching, and I hope this was less frustrating than the live stream. Alright, have a good day, everyone.